So what we loved about YouCanBookMe is that we only shared the link essentially with our media, and they're the ones who have to set the meetings to have agreed upon it to meet with company X at this time. And then very simple: name, date, location. Do I need 30 minutes or 60 minutes? Who am I meeting with? Slap it in there and it's on their calendar just like that.
Today, I'm joined by Ben Waring, who is the Director of Global PR and Communications at RSAC, which is a cybersecurity organization. Ben's going to tell us all about that. And thank you so much for joining us today, Ben. You are in Colorado. And tell me a little bit about RSAC, what it does, and why it does it.
Yes, great to be here. Thanks for having me, Kate. So we were born out of kind of what you might consider maybe the reverse of normal, where we were born out of an event into a larger organization a couple years ago. But RSAC conference is where the world talks cybersecurity. It's the biggest cybersecurity event in the world. Every spring, we convene about 45,000 people from 120 countries around the world in San Francisco to talk about what the future looks like. So as you might imagine, in this year's event, a lot of AI talk, for instance, but that has evolved over that 35 years. We started in the early 90s, always been in the Bay Area for our flagship event in the US, but we've had some ancillary events around the world and domestically as well. But our flagship event, which is a 4-day event, is in San Francisco, where you get practitioners, you get kind of decision makers, you get entry-level folks, you get researchers, all kind of across the board to meet. We have hundreds of sessions, hundreds of speakers who kind of speak about where cybersecurity is in today's world and where it's headed. And so, yes, we essentially are trying to advance cybersecurity to make the world a safer place, a safer society for everybody, now that so much of the world is in a digital world. I head up PR and comms for RSAC, both the organization side and for the conference specifically. And included in that 45,000 people are about 500 media from around the world who attend and cover us. That include broadcast and analysts and press and content creators and everybody else kind of over the moon these days with that to cover us from a global perspective.
So it feels like that would take weeks to discuss all that stuff. I mean, it's only 4 days.
It could. Yeah, there's so many sessions, and we it's hard for everyone to get to some of them, but we do have an on-demand sort of kind of component that people can go back and look at sessions they may have missed, or we try to have a little bit of something for everybody between our sessions, between our keynotes that can be industry related or sometimes just technology related, of learning from the best and how they succeeded in life. Can be inspirational for somebody who may be at a smaller organization and may not have a budget, may not be able to come every year, but they can send a team member who can bring back some learnings to the rest of their team. And cybersecurity can be an isolating industry for a lot of it. There's a 5 million vacant seats shortage, essentially, of jobs around the world right now in cybersecurity. And that's really important. 5 million across the globe. It's a huge problem right now in tech and in cyber right now. So, and a lot of that is the learning curve a little bit, but a lot of it is just organizations, big and small, enterprise, small, medium-sized businesses, of how to tackle that, how to secure their assets. And this reaches across every industry: financial, medical, legal. I mean, everything like that, of supporting your clients' data and information and securing it is really, really critical. So bringing some of that back for individuals maybe that are solo or one man or woman teams, I think is really important.
I'm fascinated that you've got kind of individual people who might work for a small company, but then you've got government officials who are kind of all together. And so how would an attendee sell it to their company to say, I got to go see this? Like, what are they going to get out of it?
So yes, the networking aspect is, probably the biggest, a little bit of understanding, what are the best practices in this industry. I think we all kind of try to go down the professional development route best we can to whatever our profession might be, to be better at that is always the goal. So that's, in a way, that's a lot of what we think about in cybersecurity. It is that intersection of business and technology and policy, a little bit of what has changed since last year. Again, we hold our event in the spring, usually in Q1, sometimes Q2 every year in San Francisco. ago. So it's usually right around 12 months, but that can be a long time in the tech world of things that have changed as we see things move and evolve, between governments, between the advancement of technology and how quickly. I mean, I've been in this position for about 3.5 years, but we weren't talking about AI in 2022, not at least the level we're talking about now. So we just really want to equip everybody to feel good, to feel empowered, to feel knowledge, to talk to their counterparts, to learn, to see what is coming down the pipeline. Oh, this could work for my organization, or, oh, this is something I didn't think about that I should be thinking about. So it's really a week to kind of connect. It's a heck of a week.
My understanding is that so many of these vulnerabilities are actually humans. So, somebody's clicking on a link that they're just moving too quickly. So raising enough awareness inside an organization is going to go quite far to helping. You don't need a lot of money to do that. You just need the time, and you need people
education, right? And that's why months like October, Cybersecurity Awareness Month, are really critical in the assets that a lot of governments put out to equip those. And there's also vulnerable areas. You talk about your kids, that's one of them, right? And online safety and security is one. The elderly is another one that often gets targeted, right? They're not sure what to believe. Is this real? That somebody sent an email that they're going to foreclose their account. And unfortunately, some of those bad actors prey upon the more vulnerable areas or not knowledgeable areas like the elderly or the youth. So it is really important to educate across the board, the entire population when we live in this digital age.
And part of the problem is we find in being a technology company is that you think you've stopped them, and then they come up with another way to get around you. And so it's just constantly. You said a year between is actually several lifetimes, really. If you think about how quickly they're moving.
It is. And in that, offense and defense is always a game in cybersecurity, just as it is kind of in warfare, anywhere else you think of. But as technology evolves, so will some of the malicious intent. And so it is really important to safeguard, everything.
Let's talk about YouCanBookMe in terms of how you are using that in this massive event with 45,000 people. What are you using YouCanBookMe to schedule?
Yes, great question. So when you have 45,000 people, and especially in a city like San Francisco, where their space is limited, it's not necessarily like a Vegas or maybe some of the other cities in the US, at least, there's a vast amount of space, there's a confined amount of space. And so essentially, we were looking for a tool with that 500 media to reserve meetings for the 4 days that we have there all day to, I want to meet with this person, but we can't find a space or a location. So we reserve a very large space, or I shouldn't say very large, but a large space by our working press room and media room that our analysts and press and content creators are in there to meet with anyone they want in these rooms. But as you might imagine, people's schedules are wild. They change all of the time. And so oddly enough, a fun story was about a decade ago, I worked on the PR team that managed RSAC. Was my client, actually, when I worked on the agency side. And so I made great connections, so much that a few years later, I ended up working for them. But I used to do this process by hand, manually, of like people calling, I need this room at this time. And it was chaos. And I was like, even in 2016, a decade ago, I was like, there has to be a better way with technology to do this, right? We're a tech conference. So what we loved about YouCanBookMe is that we only shared the link essentially with our media. And they're the ones who have to set the meetings to have agreed upon it to meet with company X at this time. And then very simple, name, date, location. Do I need 30 minutes or 60 minutes? Who am I meeting with? Slap it in there and it's on their calendar just like that. We needed a simple solution like YouCanBookMe could offer. And can move because schedules do change and shift. We had over 500 meetings leading up to Conference Book this year, which was about a 20% increase over last year in our previous system. And a lot of the feedback we heard directly from our media was, we love this new tool you all are using. It looks like our branding, which we really enjoyed about the YouCanBookMe tool. Everyone really liked it. It was very friendly to use.
And so I'm curious about, in terms of this functionality, normally we've got loads of reminders and all kinds of other features that you could use. Were you using reminders?
So I think the reminders we did were we would send an email reminder the day before, and then maybe like an hour before, I think are the settings that we chose this year. And we found that to be the right cadence without over inundating. And we didn't want people from opting out.
Excellent. Well, what I love to hear is you said you had a 20% increase on bookings this year. That's
We
brilliant.
did using this tool, which was great. We love to see it.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Ben. It's been a real pleasure to speak to you.